Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 6/1/25. This is going to be another Q&A, folks. We're just about burned through all this lot of them for this chunk of questions that have come in. So there's only a few more you're probably going to see of this bunch. So before any of this begins, however, I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am and I am one, with all there is that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, our loved ones to also let healing energies in. Let them love us, let them nourish us, and let them bring us to our highest good. We ask for now benevolence to come in with no conflicting agenda to support us all now, to bring in those healing energies and to enable us to have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for any malevolent or mischievous beings to be swept away right now so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it. So, get situated a little bit here. And now we go into the affirmation and blessing. Many of you saw this one that I posted to Facebook not too long ago by George Carlin. I thought this was one of the funniest things that I've seen in a while. The measure of a man's scrotum is not measured by its width, height, or shape. It is measured by how much heart and soul he packs into it, dragging it around like a heavy sack full of love, maybe a little of something else too. George Carlin. I actually found that hilarious. That's typical him right there, if you go back into his stand-up routines. So, now, first question.
Did Diddy try to kill Jamie Foxx?
Yes, he did, causing the stroke as a warning not to go against the grain, so to speak. And that's essentially was the only answer to that particular question. Isaac would not go further into that. That was him that said this. So he wouldn't go any further. It seems they're limiting their answers in this area, especially for somebody who's still alive. So we normally don't name drop, but that one came up. So, all right. If you're going to do something on the Diddy trial, focus any questions on the Diddy trial. Focus on those that have passed, like Michael Jackson, any of those type of people. So we'll go into the next question.
With all of the conspiracy theories out there, is Hillary Clinton a clone, reptilian, or just plain evil?
Okay, this was Isaac that said this. I vote just plain evil for $500. This one is a no-brainer, simply because of the fact that nearly all of the conspiracy theories are wrong about her. But you forgot one. A synth/synthoid life form. In short, she is just plain evil. As Reagan told all of you, Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is usually the right one. In other words, keep it simple, stupid. Isaac out. Meaning that the conspiracy theories that flood the internet, is she a clone? Is she a reptilian? Is she a synth? All these things. Reagan would basically say, some of those things are narrative, just keep it simple. Basically, you're just dealing with evil. Plain and simple. So I've looked into these myself. I get the stories that are out there. They said that about Biden as well. Where is he a synth? Is he a replacement? Replacement is actually the more simple term here, where he died in Vegas, and the one you just saw that left the presidency was the duplicate. That, in that case, it happened to be true.
And now it's his time to be killed off.
It's his time to be killed off because guess what? He's got cancer. Well, this type of cancer doesn't pop up that quick, folks. The simpler explanation, I suppose, in this one would be, they just weren't disclosing his cancer. In this case, the even simpler explanation is he passed away, so they're covering it more with the cancer story, basically letting it out there where they're saying, he had cancer this whole time, and they were covering it up. No, they're covering up the fact that he died, is what it is. So in Vegas, and back in June of 24. So, now before the debate. So, I believe the debate was in July, I believe, of 24. So, all right. Next one.
What exactly are the frog slash liver lizard entities? Are they Kappa, aquatic Draco variations, or something else?
All right. This one was by Vessa. Vessa here with this answer. The frog lizards were and are a form of Kappa, but with a twist. That's a Japanese cryptid, by the way. These guys are tasked with ending all life, but within that modus operandi, they end specifically targeted cultures and or people. Take, for example, you have a village and it's people that you don't like. Say you have a few kappa to plant into a nearby stream and or river water system and or tributary. This means that your rivals will elect to starve to death and or commit suicide rather than confront the kappa's teeth. Have enough of them and you can defeat even the strongest of opponents. Most of it is psychological in nature because of the fact that most of the time only a few to 5 or 6 kappa were ever used in battle and or conquest campaigns at any given time or times. Kappa, though known for their taunting one into the rivers and or waterways tributaries, were not very bright, and they were created in a jar of sorts, but now are nearly gone forever. No loss, if you ask me. In this case, people may remember when I said back when we did other recordings about the frog lizard types that I didn't know exactly what they were, but I compared them to the kappa of Japan, where these creatures would trick people into tributaries, taunting them, using like, oh, you have a small penis, crap like that, so it would get people's egos in there. I even had a dream about an explorer that went into a waterway and was grabbed by one of these as well in early mountain man times. In this particular way, people might remember me talking about the dream I had when I back in the early 90s about going through a sewer system, out of a castle sewer system, and trying to get other people to help them escape, and seeing these shark-like beings going through there, grabbing the other people that were down under the water, one popping up with flesh in its teeth, and I go to jump on it, tackle it, and that's how my past life self died. I found out this was more Tartarian in nature, where they were trying to erase people from history, even down to the bones. These things eat bones. Now, the other dream I had was of one of these creatures walking around in like a suit and tie in a dream, and I could hear basically music in the background and hearing the Weeknd's Blinding Lights popped up in the background. And this frog being was basically narrating his own story, saying, and this is where I had to end everything, things of that nature. Now, in this instance, the frog being was basically saying, like in Kappa, were considered to at least have some sentience and could narrate things like this. In fact, he was basically saying that their people were tasked or created with ending cultures. I feel this was Tartarian in nature. I kept seeing these big twisty structures, just like you see in Tartaria or the Krenim. And I was seeing these creatures. The part I was seeing in the dream was in the Undercroft. Seeing people would retreat to the Undercroft to try to escape. Those creatures were there to meet them because they were in water. They can't get up on land very easily, except very rarely, maybe to shove people towards a particular, herd them towards a particular area down in water where they were more effective. And then what they would do is just leave the castle husk, and that was basically it. And no one would ever know who was there. You would have these empty structures. Like in Poland, you have the Tartarian structure that was there. That one of the reasons the Draco tried to get Hitler to invade Poland was to look for the Tartarian tech from the earlier period, not the later period Tartarian Empire, the old worldwide empire, Atlantean period. So I will go to the next question here.
In the book Enlightenment Part 0, what does the tribute mean? These particular people are mentioned. Please explain this and what actually happened to Alana Taylor in the early days of your show. This book was talked about once. Also, will there ever be another one to continue it? And then they put a picture of it.
Okay, the tribute is this is what I thought was interesting. The tribute of this book, and this is I'm glad this question came up because it's good to refresh this material from the old days. If you have any questions that were from the old days, please send them back and we'll revet these. In tribute, Zeus, Gahatma Siddhartha, Jesus Christ, and L. Ron Hubbard. I thought this now. I'm looking at this with new eyes. This is the Enlightenment Part Zero Handbook on Illusion by D. Allen Holmes, and I am going to read the response and see who it was from first. Elena. Okay. All right. Though the contents of the book are true, as in events, settings, etc., the tribute is to those that the author D. Allen Holmes felt were responsible for the download of the information. Very much like these Q&A. Are those sources good? No, I will give the breakdown. Zeus equals Enlil, Gautama Siddhartha equals good, but his religion has been misused a lot. Jesus equals Enlil, creator of all religions, including Gautama Siddhartha's. L. Ron Hubbard equals convert, mystic, and the founder of none other than Scientology. He is dedicated here because the source material for both the book and some of the religion's finer points come from the very same sources, dimensional sources. But we must remember that Scientology has its darker side, so to speak, and must be seen as more of a non-credible source of information, though they do have nuggets of information that can be trusted as truth. Again, the reason for this dedication is simple. Birds of a feather flock together. That is all for now. P.S. As for Alana Taylor, she is still around and still interacts with Talawanda's dimension. Okay, truly done. Now, bye.
This is actually really is a good question because it goes to saying what we've said from the beginning. Look at a lot of material, but please discern it. And as we've always said, that evil will always have to say truths because people will sense that. Mm-hmm. But then one of the hopes is that you will just, again, stop discerning the message because you've just given approval to the messenger, and then they can sneak it in later down the road. So this is what happens. And so, again, we always say, forget who the messenger is, discern what's being said. And if you can learn to do that, you can go across a wide swath of information and pick out the nuggets that seem to be more truthful and just leave alone what doesn't. Because again, this is how these tactics are done.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And I know another part of the question was also, will there ever be another one to continue it? I believe that is something we can ask when the channel comes around. I noticed that part of the question was not answered. So, all right.
The amygdala of the brain, aside from the fear, fight, or flight response, is also involved in telepathic abilities along with the third eye.
Okay. Yes, it is. Alongside the pineal gland, at least in energy filtration, that is. The amygdala not only generates fear responses as a filter of sorts, but it also helps regulate the responses of the third eye, so that discernment is much, much easier. Without it, you would believe everything you see, smell, and hear, or hear. Even taste. Smell, hear, even taste. Excuse me. So yes, in short, it is involved in every aspect of telepathic contact. Just like your appendix filters certain energies and poisons for the body, the amygdala filters choice. I hope this makes sense. Right, and there is a PS on here. The amygdala is the most pinged when both engaging in telepathy and the most loosed and raped by negative entities. Seeing as it is referred to as the reptilian brain, this tends to fit rather both synchronistically and ironically. Bye now, Isaac. So I thought that was actually an interesting explanation. Okay, next one.
Okay. What exactly is a bound being and or set of beings?
This was a good one. This was also Isaac. Okay. One and or more beings whereby bound by spell, curse, and or technology and forced to be used to attack and or serve and or being in service to a master, dark magician, technomage, etc. That's a Babylon 5 reference and Crusade reference, guys. The way to free them is this. I hereby cut the binding. It is as simple as that. And that is as simple as that. They even use there's even a Skyrim reference I'll use where you come across this guy who basically wants you to free him, and he'll help you find a good treasure, a bit of armor, and some gold, things of that nature. And you ask him how to free him. He goes, it's real simple, really. Words are simple. Just say, you free me. And that's your intention. And you do so, and if you choose to, he disappears. He looks like a demon. He has horns, all this other stuff. But if you choose not to, he gets pissed at you. But there's not much you can do. He doesn't reveal the treasure at that point. But I'm just saying, that's a very small reference there. But that happens to be true. You have jinn that are in service to a master. That's why some people are sympathetic towards them. With that, you don't want to be. And that's the whole Ouija board complex there where you're summoning jinn and Draco through that. That's not this conversation. But any of these bindings, like you see Solomon in his ring with the jinn, all this other stuff, genie in the lamp, this applies to this. I'm not saying trust a bound being, but there are times where I've even seen beings with rods in the back of their head. You even see the old jinn pictures with their hair that comes up like this. That's a rod being covered in there. That's a control AI rod, an earlier outdated form of it. Now it's just this little thing. Face eaters have this too, where it's this little nub, or it would look like a wart or a boil of some kind. They've got, it used to be a triangle pyramid, then it got down to a little dome, then it got down to subdermal. So you don't see it anymore. Just the technology evolved over a period of time. But this is where this applies. Usually when I see this, I remove that. I've seen it in dragons, dogmen, across the board. I've seen certain things, not just with them, but I've seen that. Dogmen are basically skinwalker types because of the transformation. They're used in ceremonies, and a bound version of them is used in a lot of ceremonies. Also, another version of them I'll talk about in a different Q&A is about ones that have this worm that's in their brain that turn them into a more controllable mad cow disease version of themselves, a husk, zombified. They use the projects use them as a bulwark in areas. And they've taken their DNA for soldiers and such in the past. So I will move on from this point.
Okay. Within the Clarion-Clipperton zone, also just referred to as their initials, CCZ, there are electrically based rocks known as polymetallic nodules. Are these ancient technology? And if so, from what time frame? The Great Seeding or the Atlantis-Lemurian War?
All right. Essentially, okay. You pegged it on the second half of this set of questions. During the Atlantis-Lemurian War, both sides had these and used them to generate enough energy to power the initial tests to create their atomic weapons of mass destruction. When they first created them, the effects were huge. However, what you are picking up on about the time frame known to you as the Great Seeding is this. There was a version of them there 65 million years ago, made from the same type of tech as the basalt pillars used to terraform the original Earth. The difference is that these were created to jumpstart the oxygenation of Earth's oceans, and therefore jumpstart elements of the ecosystem that you know of today. The era before the moon, the very same eeriness and or land of the gods that Bjorn saw in his dreams, or should I say memories. You see, the Earth was a very different environment without the moon ship. So what he's saying, what Isaac here is saying is this. The basalt pillars, I will give context. The basalt pillars that you see are essentially technology that the Earth has grown around them, and it was stopped mid-usage, and essentially was terraforming the Earth in the original Great Seeding when all the continents were brought from different worlds, different races, different worlds, like they mentioned in the South Park episode about the reality show. Go look that up. Then Pangea was separated and everything was moved to how we know of it today. That was the great seeding, and different races came from different places. Like the South Park episode said, one species, one planet. They all came here. And when Odin also originally took and helped create the moon, he had it commissioned as a Death Star weapon for the solar system. Then the Orions took it over and turned it into a way to control the Earth. I believe it was essentially both. It was also being used as an anchor for here. Some people see it as a weapon being pointed at us. That part's broken, and so is the ship portion. But it is actually keeping everything in order. The dream that Bjorn had was seeing the land of the gods, where it was above the mountains, and seeing a fog further down, and below that fog was mind control. That's today. But also was seeing what it used to be pre-moon. Water was closer to the earth. The sky and the firmament were in different spots. The Van Allen belt was closer, and the firmament barrier were closer, hugging the earth at that time. What happened there was when the moon was put in place, it pulled this out further. It pulled these barriers out further so that there were frequency changes. This is also not as aside from the accidents on Atlantis, aside from beings being shoved through that whole dragon break analogy that took place on Atlantis with different timelines, and is not, like Tiber Septim's Numidium in the Elder Scrolls. Aside from that particular accident, let's say, intentional accident, aside from that, like they depicted in Aquaman, and with the slovenliness of the Atlantean in that, what happened was the moon pulled some of that out, also making these different frequencies I came to find out, and making it so that some of these beings were outside of this. The beings never went anywhere. You just don't see them anymore. They don't interact with people anymore past a certain point in history. They never left. And they're in their own dimensional spaces, but it was also fractured because of the whole dragon break type situation, but as well as them retreating to these other dimensional spaces after Atlantis, and of course, long after the Orion invasion. But the point I'm trying to make is the earth was all wet, the water, all of it was like the sky. It was like the sky was like right there with you. And the moon pulled it further out. Even AJ on White Files mentioned this, and this intrigued me because this sounded exactly like Bjorn's dream that he told me in the session. This sounded exactly like it. And I found out this was the case. What he was seeing was the land of the gods, but at the same time pre-moon Earth. And I just got a very big validation to that. So, next one.
Are the so-called guardian angels just soul/spirit world family, or are they ETs just helping us out?
It is all of the above. An ET may or may not help you out of a jam or may cause one. Dimensional. Dimensionals, yes. So will ghosts, or so will dimensionals. So will ghosts and or spirits. So the answer is all of the above. Now, there is an example that insider Clifford Stone actually talked about his ET guide, Corona, that showed him a lot of this. Came to him as like a little child formula that he saw when he decoded it correctly. Saw this big green, almost Frankenstein-sized being. What Corona explained to him was sometimes there'll be ETs that help people out by pinging their brain so they don't go walking down a dark alley somewhere. They see it as just their intuition, but sometimes they're being told, hey, stupid, don't go this direction. Some beings will help them out. Some beings will draw them into the dark alley so they can see them get robbed. Depends on different strokes for different folks right there. Who's head-vetting whom, who's getting their jollies off on what. It's usually what it boils down to, just like us. So I just wanted to quickly explain that. We have a ways to go with this. I will go on to the next question.
Yes, it's basically asking, is there a backstory between Prince and how did he try to warn all of us about Diddy?
Also warned Michael Jackson in particular about Diddy. So this is a Michael Jackson and I believe a Prince question rolled into one. They're getting to where they're kind of amalgamating answers here to kind of make this more lucrative to read here. So seeing that we have to do this part. So Michael Jackson here. Prince and we had a very tenuous but also beneficial relationship. Bruised egos aside, we cared what happened to the other. He warned me that the industry has many eyes and teeth, and to not poke the bear too much. But did I listen? No. No, I did not. We played tit for tat a lot with music, but then created beautiful songs and works together, some of which never saw the light of day. What Chris here saw on the internet was and/or is correct. We did have a rivalry. It was a bit of mind control that spun our egos into a tailspin at times. But we are both here now, on the same side, seeing the world we loved burn, but in a good way. So he was actually quite pleased about that part. Prince is here to say something on this too. Here he is. Prince here, Chris, and a friend of ours, until she tells us otherwise to say her name. While it is a pleasure to work with you both, I must ask that you please watch your sixes, so to speak, while speaking about these subjects. I nor Michael wish to see either of you harmed, physically nor mentally. With that said, I will say that I warned Michael about going too far too fast. I also warned about the industry having too many eyes and teeth because of its veracity, mendacity, and just plain evil. He knew already, but he was a man on a mission. Still is. That is all for this question. Michael Jackson and Prince. I find that interesting. They were warning, but at the same time, they want to inform. They are informing in nuggets. In this methodology, they can inform and create a bigger picture over a span of time. Therefore, there's an offset to the information. Even though what happened to them was further back, they said there's still those that would cause blowback, especially now during the Diddy trial timeframe. So even especially now. So it's offset by time, but yet it is not. So that's why they're choosing to do it this way, and through a couple intermediaries like questions. So it seems to offset some of the blowback. So this is more of a lengthy one, folks. So we'll just go straight. You can go ahead.
So this is regarding Lisa Marie's book. Do you want to comment on anything she may have said about, I guess, Michael Jackson's life and hers together, fact or fiction?
Yeah, I had to look this up because I'm not completely aware of some of Michael Jackson's history. He told me to look up even the AI overview on Google. He said had some stuff correct, but didn't list everything. So he answered things as I went along reading the explanation. So he added his comments in there. So I'm just going to read that, and I will then say where he commented in between. Lisa Marie Presley's posthumous memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown, details her relationship with Michael Jackson, including their marriage and the fact that he was still a virgin. He put in irrelevant in big cap letters when they got together. The memoir also reveals that Jackson pursued her while she was still married to Danny Kaho. The book was completed by her daughter, Riley Kaho, after Lisa Marie's death. Now, this is where it gets more entangled here. Let's see. Here's a more detailed look at the book, what the book reveals about Michael Jackson. In quotes, I was terrified, and that's what Lisa Marie put in the record. Presley wrote about the whirlwind romance and marriage, stating she was initially terrified by their relationship, and he interjected and said, she was at first. This is correct, but snapped out of it after a short period. Virgin at 35. The book reveals that Jackson told Presley he was still a virgin at the age of 35. He said, irrelevant AF, irrelevant as fuck. That is all that I will say on that. And he was actually perturbed that the searches emphasized that. He was actually fairly incensed by that, I want to say. He winked at all that, but he's like, that's not what they should be focusing on. But that's more of a propagandic thing where they're trying to get people to focus on that juicy bit versus the correct thing that he was trying to get people to focus on. That's what he's perturbed about. Just to make that clear on that. He wanted me to clarify that eventually. Pursuit while married. Presley writes that Jackson pursued her while she was still married to Danny Kaho, and that he confessed his love for her during a trip to Las Vegas. He said, I did. I was madly in love with her. Still kinda am, but in a different way. As oversouls go. Handler or not, the soul remembers. And he was actually happy, but also sad at that particular prospect. Intimate details. The memoir shares intimate details about their relationship, including the physical stuff that happened between them. Rather irrelevant, seeing that as that I could not do too much physically due to the castration. I am better now, but the soul remembers. A sad face, crying emoji. He wanted me to make sure to emphasize that. The soul still remembers. The oversoul still remembers this in the record, folks. This doesn't just go away. You might not be being bogged down by it, but that oversoul remembers what it went through. I just want to clarify that. So that it's an old phrase. The soul remembers from the '90s New Age movement, but it still counts. Quote unquote. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm completely in love with you. That was a famous Michael Jackson quote from this book. Presley writes that Jackson told her, "I want us to get married and for you to have my children." He said, "As I said before, I was, but I did not make the comment on the children for obvious reasons." And he was pretty pissed about how she got programmed to write that portion where it's obvious that he could not have any. So he was a bit perturbed about that. This is why he's wanting to talk about this and change these things as things go along. Dating for a while. They dated for a while before Presley filed for a divorce from Cato. And he said, "True." That's really all I said with several dots, 5 dots after. True. Initial impressions. Lisa Marie expected Jackson to be odd, but found him shy, sensitive, and kind. He said, also true. I was shy at first, but then came around more. If anything, that experience taught me more about firming up confidence in myself, regardless of what came next. Security escapades. They enjoyed their honeymoon and would often have fun by ditching security, which was a common Michael Jackson style. Also true. This was fun. Security can be a total buzzkill. Hee. And he winked at that. So, next one. Natural nails. Jackson preferred Presley's natural bit nails over the expensive manicures. Natural, baby, all natural, if you know what I mean. That was him that said this. Now, this is where it got a little more complicated here, more into the programming aspect. Icing people. The book suggests that Jackson was manipulative and good at icing people, meaning kind of making fun and also kind of more of an initiate sort of way. This is only partially true for one of the meanings. The drinking prank game, also getting people into drinking games, things of that nature. Drinking prank game was a good. Was I good at this? No, not at all. And as for killing someone, no, not this either. But there is a third version definition of icing that is unfortunate. Sorry, I had a hard time reading that. That I unfortunately was very good at manipulating others. Just like I said about some of the women and kids. Icing meaning to make others turn on them. To ice meaning to kill their careers / path. Almost like destiny swapping. I just had him go through an old Q&A script where he mentioned destiny swapping and or karma dumping, whereas I was controlled to mislead, handle, and abuse, all the while point it all out. So in a sense, icing someone. And he was very sad and crying over that because to ice someone, this means to prank them and get them involved essentially into a drinking game. And so this is essentially what he expanded on it by turning it into other points of the manipulation. This is what he was admitting to being controlled to do.
To ruin other people.
To ruin other people, yeah. And he did not, as a soul, did not want that part, but knew that the avatar had to go through this in order to bring about an antibody or correction to this particular type of thing happening down here in this timeline or set of them. So next one.
Says, please settle a dispute about where this famous brick wall is located, behind Crossley's florist or next to Lester's carpet. Also, what with that frown on your face, at the Griffith observation.
Observatory, yeah.
Observatory.
Yeah, this was a video that I watched. I put it on my favorites on YouTube. It's about the Off the Wall cover, where you see the famous Michael Jackson cover where he's in the suit against the brick wall. Nobody knew where the hell this place was, and this particular guy, and I'll put the video in the descriptor too, went in search of this wall. And Michael Jackson led me to this particular video. This guy had it dead to rights, but this particular business didn't want any publicity, so he didn't really show the sign of the business, but showed it was just up the street from where they were planning the album. So I will go on to the next. The video I had Chris watch is the exact location that Off the Wall is located, behind the florist, of which is no longer a florist, I am sad to say. And he was actually sad about that. He actually liked that place. It hasn't been for a very long time. The face that I made at the observatory, as well as had the very same look on my older albums, is because I was not in control of my work. And he was pissed about that, as well as with myself. Chris here knows of what I speak, and he was fairly pissed and sad about any of those experiences. Even though he did enjoy certain creative aspects, he wanted me to emphasize this. He did not. He hated the fact that he was being controlled, and he was aware of it. He had a certain wherewithal that he knew when he was being controlled, but control his actions. I've been in that spell before, where you're at a certain frequency where you know you're being manipulated, but you can't always do something about it unless you really boost your frequency. This is what he was referring to, that he couldn't quite cut the mustard in that area. He was very sad, embarrassed, and pissed about that. So, next one.
It says this area is only 1.5 miles from my house. Yesterday, my neighbor told me about this, and when I got into the apartment, the song that played on Pandora was by Michael Jackson, and he's a riot.
Yeah, Bitten by Michael Jackson. Yeah, and I thought this was interesting. This was more of a personal synchronicity for the person, and it was in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I can say this because it's in the video, like, where they had rats pretty much everywhere, and the rats are in like all the buildings and all this other stuff. Basically saying it was symbolic. He was basically saying, this person, your neighborhood is full of rats, but you have a friend like me. That is a line from the song Ben, basically saying that you have a friend here. And he sang this as he said this. You too, Chris, and there is a synchronicity from Laverne's father, Ben, in here as well. He bids you both hello. And that was Michael Jackson. Basically said that was a double synchronicity about the rats in the area and to Laverne's father. And I can say this about Laverne's father because it was already, he came through on the episode we did with Christy Campbell. He channeled there. So, all right. Okay, next one.
It just says, sending all my love and gratitude to Michael, Prince, and Chris. You're making my dreams come true.
Prince here. Michael and I extend our extreme gratitude towards you both. Many blessings and love, Prince and Michael Jackson. So, now let's see. And there was at the end, I think they were, let's see, I basically said, I think they were competing for our attention. I point this out to her. And basically Michael Jackson said, not so, but yes so. And he said, hee, ow, I can't make that noise he makes. He did a unique one. But he thought it was funny that the two of them, even in spirit, were attempting to compete for attention because they were trying to say this is how they were here. So this is how they were. They were basically frenemies, enemies in the press, friends behind the scenes, kind of thing. Is essentially how that is. And Isaac says it's good using the teen girl emoji and or definition in your Q&As. Good going. Okay. All right. Now we're up to galactic contribution. So find this interesting. Oh, okay. I would assume Isaac this time, or is Michael wanting to do it? Okay, you. Okay. He'll do another one. Okay, and Prince will do another one too. Yeah, I will say this for people that are scoffing at the fact that we're communicating with these beings these people because of the fact that things that were done, while they were here, control or not. I fully get any apprehension from this, but at the same time, know where they are. They are as they would be had none of the crap happened here. Michael Jackson looks like he did just at the Thriller time or just before, and he's free of all that control. He looks basically as he would have carried on had none of that happened in Prince too. So if they had encountered none of it and they just went into the art side of things, and that's essentially what they're kind of doing over there as well. They are now well enough that they can contribute and say this on this end, on the Midgardian side or earthly side of the spectrum here. So, so I just wanted to add that. George Carlin too, but he's still doing the same stuff as he did there or here. So, Isaac, let's do this. Yes, I do wish to say, though the best laid plans of mice and men tend to gang agley in this, Prince and Michael, they are wonderful. They're turning into more guide type material. If you can call it that, it's more of a Soul Family-esque type material. Val Kilmer, too, I will say. Gene Hackman, he's very standoffish, but I will say, them bringing through all these celebrities for the current material, wonderful idea, because it is actually helping things here pin certain things to certain time frames, just like frequency is memory, memory is frequency. But also remember, memory is frequency, frequency is memory. What happens when you dig up old wounds? It brings those wounds in the here and now. Yes, does this need to happen? I'm in full agreement with this. As what was said on a World of Sasquatch yesterday when you guys recorded this about frequency and memory. Look what happened with the Atlantis memories. Sometimes digging up old wounds, you dig up old enemies. Even if you don't remember that they are enemies. In this, I will say that Roger was actually correct in his assessment. With this, it is no different, though it did not happen all that long ago. It still counts towards a frequency, just like when he tapped into his SSP frequency, enemies did not want him to do this, therefore he got sick. This was part of that targeting. Now, though there are traps and snares in this, it is worth bringing this information up because this crap needs to stop. Fully in agreement with Michael and Prince's assessments in this, or I would not be too happy with them right now. Just know, keep spreading the information out. Don't chunk it. Spread the information out. I'm saying this in a general sense. If you are digging up this truth, no, there is a yang to the yin. That you can minimize blowback. You can say that you've been targeted, not targeted, all those things. But just know that putting these things out there causing a ripple and a pond. Where does that ripple go? To the shore. Where does it ripple back to? To the point of the insertion, to the point or the pin, and or the rock skipping along and going beneath. It will then trace back, quantumly, back to its point of origin. This is a point of physics fact. So just know, if you are channelers doing this, spread these things out. But know, before you put things out, you might get a little blowback, like forehand blowback, until you put the totality of the information out. Once it is there, you will see that blowback not necessarily happen too much. You might get to the ripple will get to the shore, and it'll go back to point of origin. It'll pass by a little bit like a bell being rung. It vibrates for a little while, but then it ceases. And then you've changed that information constant forever after. You've grounded that information into the true benevolent Akashic and the true benevolent galactic. It's the true benevolent earthly Akashics and the true benevolent galactic Akashics. As of the moment in time, and I am now saying this, I am now grounding this information and all past Q&As. Now, into the benevolent earthly Akashics and into the benevolent galactic Akashics as of this moment in time, mirrored across time space where appropriate, is forever so in all moments, all sessions, and expressions. Doing this, assured that you are not going to feel that ripple come back and hit you like a wave being in the wave pool where him and your grandson dunked beneath it. I found this funny, but I was there, you say. So I'm always there like a spirit or specter lurking in the shadows, like creepers, some people out there would call me. Who is the thriller out there, Michael? Okay. Who is the zombie? No, let's see. And who's the one in the weird, creepy purple suit there with the jerry curls there, Prince? You know, and just saying because you've harangued me on my hair and the white skin, you see. And who had the white skin after a while there, Michael? They're looking at me, so I'm making fun of them. They will do the next Q&A. I just want to do this one. Huh? Michael? Okay, I will give you, well, we're doing question answer first, and then I'll let you come in. I will take questions.
So I know Chris wanted to go back and on the book question. Was it the hidden agenda, whatever it was that we first asked about? Was there going to be another book like that written?
Yes and no. Unfortunately, if they do it, they would add more propaganda. So you have to have another source other than the original author. No offense to him, thought he was doing good. But with this, you have to have somebody do it independently and make a sequel. Even the original Alana Taylor may channel and get involved in this. Just know, and also that who Talawanda is, he's more of an elemental, would have to get involved to help write the next portion of this, or Enlightenment 0 Part 2 or 2.0 or whatever the hell it is. You would have to have somebody independent of all of these sources, like your guys' self, or someone who wishes, and I'm pointing out the original author of the question there, young lady, to actually maybe pen some of the ideas for this on the condition that you have severely vet this and you do it under the premise of true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. You implement that in a dedication to anything instead of the actual names, not even myself or Elena Vessa or any of them, or Michael Jackson or Prince or any of them. Just say dedicated to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. You will get a better result. Just saying, under those rules, you'll have no corrupted text or corrupted ideas. Not that I'm saying there wasn't really hardly any. I'm just saying you won't have any other sources trying to vie for, we're the ones that were in this, we're the ones, you won't have it. Just saying. Will there be another one? Only if they choose to spread more propaganda out there, because that seems to be the flavor of the month right now. But is there a plan to do it? No. But only if they want to spread some creepy information. Just saying. Either Scientology or other. So, I know, which one of you two actually wanted this? That's Michael. Okay. All right. I will have you come through because you are being nice about it. Okay. Yes. I will be brief. I know I've been long-winded. So as Prince will get his opportunity to do another Q&A on his very own. Do we compete? Just more for fun. He wants his own Q&A at some point. Why not? So, might as well. So with this, I will say, all of these things mentioned, the same with Lisa Marie's book, all of this, there is a fair amount of propaganda and fear in there. But at the same time, was there truth? Yeah, but there were other things that were emphasized more of a tabloid fashion in there as well. This is why I came in and had him correct it little bit by little bit. I noticed the information was in the AI overview database. So it was easier for me to collate. And I prefer that because it's less strenuous on his energy. And other sources, Prince may do this too. He's thinking about doing the same with looking at the overview and correcting the information you go on. Kind of like if you looked me up on Wikipedia, that's another area where Prince and I will go through as well. Then you can basically say where it came from, and then people will harangue them to correct it. But at least in one area, your shows, it's corrected. This is what I wanted because other celebrities might do the same. This might become a fad for you guys, so I do apologize if some celebrity shows up and said, "Can you do mine too?" That's like getting autographs from people going, "Can you sign my boobies?" I had this happen. Even the pale-faced me. I was actually more pale than Isaac is, but thank you. Yes, but in this happened. This happened several times. This happened to Prince too. This happened to several celebrities. Even George Carlin ran into this shit. But he didn't have to endure people jumping on stage and showing me their tits. Happened. This happened. He didn't have to endure that. Which I suppose it's not really an enduring, it's more of a okay, and then they arrest the person. But they've had other celebrities have had this happen. Even your WWE's had this happen. So it goes with the territory. I will actually go into questions. I know you're kind of short for time, so I will do.
So I think the one overarching thing that I've been seeing with all of you guys wanting to come back and talk about some of this
Yes.
is I think kind of a little bit of a hard pill to swallow for people that are currently in Avatar standing on Earth, which is, we knew, I guess the Oversoul before the Avatar came in, knew and had planned for hardship. And because,
Unfortunately.
either enduring it to learn it better, to understand it better, and now you guys have a platform, I guess, to talk about it more. But I wanted to bring that up because I see it over and over again. But while in an avatar form, you don't remember a bigger picture of all of the things you want to try and do.
It's out of context. It's out of context. It's just like, say, if you're doing something in your dreams to help out and some race or military faction retaliates against you. You don't understand why they're doing this because you don't remember the dream sequence by which then it happened. You see, it's in a different frequency. Frequency is memory, memory is frequency. So if you're not tapping into that frequency, how are you going to remember? This is how some races wipe your memory. What they do is you're in a particular frequency then, and then you pass to yours. And you don't remember. He always makes the Fantasy Island reference where the daughter goes to visit that version of Rourke, the Malcolm McDowell version of Rourke on the island. And while she's there, remembers. When she leaves, not remembering. It's because of the frequency, you see. It's always a frequencies game, whether they're wiping your memory, even the chemical has a frequency. Causes Alzheimer's and dementia, unfortunately. This is what happened to his grandmother, unfortunately. And his grandfather got targeted for the alien contact and everything, heart attacks. But with this is another version of this. Whereas, if you are accessing these different memories, like or if you go and you make changes somewhere in someone's backyard, they remember, even if you do not. This is why Prince and I are spreading these episodes out like this, even if they're aired closer together. If you are filming them in a different frequency as you're going along, as days pass, time is a different frequency. You had your Star Trek Discovery touch on this, where each time frame had its frequency, where you had your Giorgio character going into a spasm or into a temporal psychosis or aphasia. That's an extreme end of it, or they showed the whole temporal thing where they would go into that parallel universes type frequencies and stuff like that, or losing consciousness when they would whip around the sun, like in your Star Trek 4 and Discovery, where they lost consciousness. That actually is a thing in your time travel programs. Human body was not meant to endure crap like this. As you go along, this is happening. As you start to evolve and change your perspectives and perceptions, would your past self recognize that energy? You might be more of you. You're bringing more of this in as you go along, the good stuff, essentially, from Oversoul. I say the good stuff and not the creepy stuff from other universes, even unless people want that, which why. But in this, do an audit and be done with it. But in this, as you go along, that changes. This is why we spread these out. Because day to day, there's a different frequency. It's like you're a fresh person as you go along. You're jumping timelines 1,000 times a second. Say, this is why we did this. If you compartmentalize it to those different frequencies, the blowback is minimal. And offsetting it is minimal. And I will say this about the current Diddy thing. This is why I told him look into this. When this bozo, and I use the clown term is what I'm using. No defaming bozo the clown or cookie. But in this particular clown, when he passes away, I would highly, highly recommend that if he shows up on your doorstep, you shove him away quicker than you can blink. Man is evil. He did this to Tupac as well through the gangs. This man is evil personified, kind of like your Michael Myers was said in your Halloween Ends, evil personified. Epstein, evil personified. I would highly recommend neither of these men be channeled. Like your Werner von Braun. He asked one time, was this person good and was just more of a stooge? No, evil personified. These guys, there is no hell to send anybody to. But would they be in a more Midgardian limbo for a while? Yeah. But then, of course, they would get passed on to spirit, maybe a lower level. You could call it, not hell, but he calls it the astral plane. You make sure, as soon as this happens, so there's no harassment, that he be sent on to a high vibrational area of spirit or faster moving vibration. This must be immediate. It doesn't matter what you were happening to be doing at the time, and I'm telling him this too. This man's going to be suicided. I will say this ahead of time, even though I said the whole thing with Diddy in him and his friends session. I said the whole thing with the Diddy was going to happen. I asked him to offset this past until the Diddy thing happened, so there was no blowback. This one, it's safe to put beforehand because there's not much that's going to be done. When this takes place, I say suicided, you get the picture. When this happens, this man will unfortunately pay you a visit. Pass him on immediately. And if anybody else encounters this, do it immediately and with extreme prejudice. Meaning, get it done. Doesn't matter what's going on that day. And so, I wanted to clarify this.
So can I just then ask a bigger, broader picture of, absolutely, those are some avatars, whatever type of soul.
Some avatars go through a path like that for, you would think they would know by now, but it's understood why.
Right, and they do. So, but my question is, you're saying if they were passed on to a higher level, more getting closer to the oversoul, that they basically could be brought back into balance within the oversoul.
Yes.
So this is a question then, just oversouls in general, because we've talked about the potential of an oversoul being, let's call it infected, or the Rubik's Cube of the oversoul itself is so askew that it has to go through certain types of experiences to try and balance itself out.
Yes.
So are there currently any oversouls that have decided to personify evil and learn that so much that they truly are like, even you guys at that level are like, whoa, we got to give Jack Oversoul over here, not have anything to do with them. And then how are they dealt with? Is this something that the source of all thing eventually deals with?
If the oversoul can't deal with that particular avatar, the true benevolent source creator then absorbs that particular avatar and then refilters it back to the oversoul if it can't be dealt with. Hitler is a prime example. Where is he still around? Him and Mengele, absolutely, but in energy form on Midgard. I mean, in different timelines, of course, you have polar opposites. You have other versions of yourself that attack you from the multiverse. He says his Multiverse of Madness movie with Doctor Strange, both of them fighting each other. That's a prime example. Attacking other ones, causing them to jump off buildings, saying, if you dreamt about jumping off a tall building, that was me. That actually happens. That's a no-no. The Void usually deals with this because that's extreme dark magic in that area. Now, if you say made a different choice in your set of timelines, then that shifts to its opposite somewhere else, you see, and someone else. It's all Everything Everywhere All at Once. You can grab information and tools from the multiverse, like you saw in Everything Everywhere All at Once. You can do this. Not in a campy way, but you get my meaning. In this, what is done with an avatar like this, if something invaded multiple, the missing spaces would be filled by true benevolent source creator. The void steps in, and then oversoul is audited, like in everything everywhere at once. And Man in the High Castle, where the Nazis were going to invade other universes, and they killed off a lot of people in that particular universe. Other people from other multiple universes filled in the missing spaces of vanishing expressions for true benevolent source creator, like for the highest good of all. That's how Philip K. Dick wrote it, filling in the missing spaces. He even saw himself put in that scenario, like he was talking to one of the main characters, and we as spirit also were teaching him this, that Philip K. Dick saw in this scenario where creator was filling in these spaces where the multiverse was out of whack. The void was doing it. The MTTF, of course, was doing this, but ultimately it was true benevolent source creator that fills in all areas. Now, of course, you had the dark creator of the Orion's universe. I won't get too far into that. What happened to that lesser photocopy? It was winked out of existence because it was too dark, and it was then reabsorbed. You see, this is how this takes place, because everything is supposed to be balanced. You have dark, light, neutral, but at the same time, if something gets too far out of whack, it then gets reabsorbed back into the oversoul, you see.
And okay, so I'm actually then now want to talk about the oversoul, because you said that dark duplicate had to be reabsorbed because it had gone too far. And kind of like we were talking about, the personification of something. You became unbalanced as the personification
of darkness, evil, and other ETs have gone into personification of addiction. You heard about the casino aliens.
Right.
And that's a no-no. That is regressing backwards in evolution. That is considered a no-no. The void hates it. All of them hate it.
So right now, from where you're sitting, your perspective, are there any other oversouls that have become too personified in darkness that they're at risk for? And I mean the oversoul level, that they're at risk for being reabsorbed, or some of them there?
Your ISIST is one of those. Because an oversoul's name can even be rewritten. You saw Frank Frazetta went back to his and named his Frazetta World. Wonderful, wonderful. We've even bumped shoulders with each other a little bit because you guys were talking with him. He introduced himself to me as well. And he hangs around sometimes and helps with creative sparks. You don't see him all the time, but he helps out with that. So say you had a witch like her, went back to the totality of the oversoul. What can be rewritten? What should or should not be rewritten? What name should be rewritten? What have you linked to that rewrites you? And then you try to and you have rewritten other things. You see, sometimes time can be rewritten, as your Matt Smith Doctor Who said, but at the same time, can a person? Yes. Can an oversoul? Yes. Should an imbalance occur from an expression that is dark that then begins to encompass the totality of the library? Absolutely not. This is not what that was meant for. A library is meant to be balanced. All types of books are meant in a library. In this instance, there are very few that the whole oversoul must go through an audit. In your Everything Everywhere All at Once, it was an oversoul that had gone through everything and was more in a stagnant state, had put every topping on the donut, that sort of thing. Then the other one was a business owner that business was failing and everything wouldn't go right. That's why that expression had to conduct the audit. That is the most important, one of the most important expressions. Now, if all expressions bow to a rogue expression, what does that look like? This is an imbalance, just like with the Orions. They were a rogue expression of humanity. What does this look like? Balance has to be restored. They are now bound to the rules of your physics in this expression and now have to be realigned. What happened to Neanderthals? They were created, they threw the earth out of whack into cannibalism and war and imperial rule, things of that nature, mainly cannibalism. And they had some good things, but their genome had to be put more into regular humans, to give brain and brawn. And the rest, the earth and nature turned them into carrion eaters that got rid of death energy. and balance them in. You see how that must be balanced. And he was also shown years ago species that were highly imbalanced. Their planet was destroyed, which unlawfully in some cases. This was the Anunnaki that did this. And Orions did this too. Odin is equally as responsible as some of them. While when he was creating the 9 realms, he got rid of ones that he thought were not worthy of the role. Like what you saw in Thor Ragnarok, where they conquered to create the 9 realms. He was afraid of the Ragnarok. And like what Thor said in that movie, it couldn't be prevented. It was a foregone conclusion, a fixed event. With this, some species then their genomes got put into humanity to integrate them in, so nothing ever really died. He saw a few that were like this, that got integrated in other places. This is somewhat make up some of the human genome on Earth. Out there, it was slightly different because each, of course, different species, different planets had their own evolution. But with this then gets rebalanced. You see what I'm saying?
No, I appreciate that. So, and I guess if you look at I guess the last 500 million years, and then you look at again to oversouls, I guess that's a blink of an eye. Do you feel that what you're seeing is more oversouls now in balance than what they went through in those last 250, 300,000 years, where it sounds like a lot of them got out of balance? Has a lot of recovery to oversouls occurred?
Yes, in the last 500,000, not 500 million, but
Okay, sorry about
yes,
that.
it
That's what I
has.
meant.
Yes, even the Galactic Federation's not that old.
Yeah,
140 million is about the limit. But yes, there is a rebalancing going on throughout the multiverse and audit, like what you saw in that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was an audit taking place of even the military unit that was in it, that was going through the multiverse against that one oversoul. You noticed everything got rebalanced. Yeah, and that one avatar still had to go through what she went through. At the end, the same thing was happening. The whole tax thing with her business and everything. It's because that was the rebalancing. This is what's having to be rebalanced since even the time of the screaming souls of Maldek, period. All that still had to be rebalanced. You're still experiencing those that are screaming because of this, because they were part of this event, the harvesting event that took place there from the Orion. If anything's learned from the Ra and Hummel material, that part was actually true. The other stuff came true too, but it was all propaganda being put in there by AI, military, Orions, other ETs. It doesn't have any more value beyond that. And unfortunately, the original channelers paid the price for this. All 3 of them, including the still living one. In this, I won't name names, but with this is all being reallocated and rebalanced. You are experiencing an audit rebalancing taking place at the timelines. That's through yourselves as well. The oversouls, the balanced ones, that came up with genuinely good plans are still going through with them. And does it always accomplish all through one avatar what it should? No, that's impossible in some cases. In some cases, it is. There's one that picks up the baton or the torch and goes on. You can have several within the same little timeline cluster because it still follows the rules of the multiverse because you're still going through timelines. So in life, or I should say, as the avatar known as Michael Jackson, I did not know this. I just knew I was a man on a mission. Am I a man on a mission still? And I still get to continue this in this fashion? Absolutely, with your generosity. And Prince is the same way, and others are the same way. Val Kilmer, he was hesitant to say certain things at first. He was like with the woman that was in the video you guys reviewed. He was reluctant to talk about certain things. He wanted the happier stuff, like the questions about his career and all this other stuff. That's him. And he was more reluctant to bring out why or how he died. But he still did it. At my request, he still did it. He figured maybe another avatar at some point in history would just correct it that way. That was his forte, or different strokes for different folks. So he went into, he didn't expect to go through the codes of the throat cancer. He didn't expect it, by the way. Just like his friend Brian didn't expect a staph infection to kill him. But the oversoul, no. This is what I'm getting at.
I think which is important because again, it seems to me, and we've said this before, that there are so many people that are here that were in the time frames of before, some of the more momentous time frames that brought the Great Fall. And so they're here now doing work that is trying to bring things back into balance, bring that lifting up again, not just for humanity and the experience on their earth, but for their own oversoul to bring in the balance of it all, I'm assuming.
Yes, and as much as he hates to hear this, his thing with his eye falls under this as well. As your Roger stated very poignantly in your World of Sasquatch yesterday. I approve of the answer. If I had heard this in my avatar form, would I have been non-receptive like himself? Absolutely. I would have went, "You're full of crap. I don't have to do this." And no, you don't have to go through the thing. Your avatars can change their stars. He's absolutely correct. You can switch gears and go about a mission you come in with. You can go about it a million different ways and combinations. You can go through all of that. Now, is it being amplified wrongly in a different area? Yeah, I will agree. But you can switch track timelines by which then things get easier and more spread out, and things are getting easier for you guys. And I noticed certain things myself after a while, but then you get the slope, and then you go up and get the slope. I'm not saying this is fair by any stretch of the imagination. Not fair. It is how you handle a situation when it comes about that defines you. I didn't always handle things right. I think you understand this. When I was my avatar self, of course, you never handle things correctly like this. You always you revert into a child mentality after a while. And yes, there is a warrior that needs to come out right now, like what he was viewing on his Facebook about the bulwark on the bridge. This is what's needed now to stand firm, but in order to stand firm, you must be grounded. If you are entering that arena, firm, grounded, I knew as an oversoul what I was getting myself into, even if I forgot these things on Midgard. I knew, and I still know, and he still knows, you still know. At the core, it is all known. Also, narratives that you hear about, every bit of cover up, all these things, it's all right there out in the open. It's not being covered up. It is much more simple than even your disclosure community is making it out to be. This is where I will end this part.
Well, I thank you. And I think the one thing again that is left that is hard is building the unity, because so much has been done to not allow that to happen. And so, hopefully, I'm just kind of been dedicating myself to work with people to see how I understand everything going on, but let's build some foundations of a unity here so that we can use our collective energies wisely.
Yes, and also a warrior is definitely needed right now. Just like basically standing firm, you will not take this anymore. In any respect, that manifestation is actually needed, but it doesn't mean you bulldoze anything and everybody in the way either.
Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate this conversation and I hope everyone enjoyed it. So if you have anything else you'd like to say for this particular conversation.
This is good for me. I in this respect have he made the assessment to his friend that I had become more of a guide. Okay. I suppose oversouls can count for this, and soul family count, of course, for this. Have I become this? I suppose you can say this, guiding towards certain information in life to maybe accomplish a mission that I could not. Yeah, I suppose. And in the multiverse, do I have other avatars? Yeah, but in this particular timeline you're in, I don't. So yes, this is where I will end this. Others, like Prince and them, can come in at some point and talk about other stuff and other people. And if Val wants to come in and then talk about more, Gene, he's kind of he's hesitant to do these things, not only for safety reasons for yourself, He came in that one time. That's just not. It's not his cup of tea. George Foreman. It wasn't his cup of tea. Carl Weathers, on the other hand, you might see him several more times. So they're just different strokes for different folks. I'm in my optimum state now. If you saw me, it would look like nothing had ever happened. I am the optimum version of myself. I took that from Midgard and came back and wrote that part of my library as Michael Jackson. I am that person that nothing ever touched. But at the same time, I am informing you what did touch me on Midgard on Earth. So I will end this here. So thank you all for putting up with me and my long-windedness. Okay. All right. So I found that actually interesting. He's actually a very easy channel, folks. He's actually quite nice. Prince is too. Val Kilmer, he was kind of in a hurry to get information, but he wasn't used to that level of speech like that. Gene Hackman, he's a good person, but he was very standoffish with doing this kind of thing. He did it to kind of appease us and his couple of his friends that were with him, saying, do it one time. So you won't probably see too much from him. A couple other channelers talk to him, and you probably won't see a whole lot more from him, unless somebody is mimicking him in some way. But Carl Weathers, they said he's going to be out there more because he's more hamming it up for the camera. He enjoys giving messages from that end. Michael Jackson too. So Isaac's like, duh. Okay, so he likes that. That persona, that stage persona, that's why he did that here. So I think we're good unless you have anything to
No.
add. Okay, so all right, let me see. I will give this last affirmation and blessing. This was also another Carlin one. So I thought this one I found hilarious as well. Affirmation and blessing. To those who see me and wonder, is this guy sane? The answer is no, I am not. Not even close. Sanity's overrated. So I thought that was pretty funny. Robin Williams would have said something similar to that, by the way. He did in his stand-ups too. So, and he's another one that may come through and speak as well. I've been told that he's in the rotation as well. Quite a bit out there trying to get information about Hollywood and stuff out there. So I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Oh, they showed on Gutfeld Dan Bongino and Kash Patel basically saying Epstein killed himself. You could clearly see they were lying, but obviously they were under some NDA or something, under a top secret of some kind. But yeah, you saw this look on their face, like this weird-eyed look, especially Dan Bongino. Normally he tells the truth, does all this, but they're under real restrictions. Like Pete Exist, you could see this look on his face when he was on the cabinet one morning. Like he just finally dawned on him, he just realized that he couldn't do near the stuff that he thought he was going to be able to. Yeah, so I just wanted to add this to a Q&A somewhere. This is kind of just our feeling. We could just see it. So, it is, just note, guys, everybody sees it. So it is 5:55 p.m. Oh, 3 5s mean abundance. May 21st is a 3 and 2025 is a 9. So abundance, power 3, and completion of a cycle. So it is 5:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Thank you. Oh, also, I want to say they're doing like what Michael Jackson said for Diddy. They did it for Epstein, or doing it for Epstein. I mean, you saw Dan Bongino and Kash Patel basically saying, oh, he killed himself, and you saw those looks on their face. They genuinely looked at files and saw this, but they don't believe it themselves, just like majority of the people don't, but they're under more than likely an NDA to say exactly what's in the files. But in this respect, though, like what was said about Diddy, basically saying, he suicides himself, what happened. But in this case, like what was also said about Biden, people think, oh, they were just covering up the cancer. No, the cancer is covering the fact he died. So, they did that with Epstein. Him not killing himself, then, oh, Hillary and them killed them, Bill killed them, all the Clintons killed him. No, he's still alive. They just threw their own under the bus and made sure he couldn't be a public narcissist anymore. You know, at least that's what we've been told. At the moment we find out more information, we'll tell you. But at least this is what I can personally figure out right now. I tend not to drift into this area because it goes into so many different angles, and there's so many layers and so many ops and so many psyops, all this other stuff going on. Many layers of deception, but this is what we know right now on all of those cases, from Diddy to Biden to Jeffrey Epstein to, you know, all this stuff so far. And the P. Diddy thing's currently going on at the time of this recording. So, we'll see what happens here. So, I personally believe what was said. And my intuition's saying it's correct. But we also jump timelines too. So, we'll see what happens here. So it is 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, June 1st, 2025. Thank you.